Hello guys, this is FK, and in this video, we're going to be looking at how AI can help us with legacy code. You know, we have all these AI tools these days, all these AI coding tools. We have Claude Code, we have Gemini CLI, and even Cursor. Now, in this video, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be picking up a project that I wrote 7 years ago. Yeah, I started the project 7 years ago. 2017? Oh, that's 8 years ago. Yeah, I actually wrote the project 8 years ago, and I haven't touched the code for the past 5 years. Yeah, I haven't touched the code for the past 5 years. It's written in Sales.js for the Node.js developers in the house. If you can remember, back in those days, there used to be Sales.js before we now had Andones, before we had Next.js and all. There used to be Sales.js. I think it was even like the major framework after Express, which is going to live forever. So yeah, we're going to be using Cursor to check out that code, that 7-year-old code that I've not touched for the past 5 years. We're going to be checking out that code, and I'm also going to be using Gemini CLI. So we'll use Cursor, which is a whole dev environment, which is a whole AI dev environment, and I'm also going to be using Gemini CLI so that we can look at things from the CLI POV too. And also on Cursor, I'm just going to be using the basic free Cursor that comes out of the box that everybody can just use. No subscriptions, no payment, no special models. It's on auto mode. Then Gemini CLI, I have an active paid subscription there, so it will definitely try to use the best state-of-the-art models available on Gemini. So without much talk, let's get into action. So to kick things off, let us start with Cursor. So now I'm in the Cursor environment, and as you can see, when was the last time you saw a grunt file? Yeah, when was the last time you saw a grunt file? To tell you how old this project is. This is a grunt file, and so this is real time. Everything I'm doing right now is real time. I've not checked this before. I've not inspected it with Cursor before. So yeah, we're both experiencing this at the same time. So the first thing I would like to know is if Cursor can just explain what this project is all about. Let's say I've even forgotten what this code is all about. Let's ask Cursor what it's all about. So let's say tell me what this code does. Yeah, let's just ask something that dumb. Tell me what this code does. And let us see if Cursor can have enough Sales.js knowledge, to even tell us what the heck is going on in this project. So it's reading all the files. There are a bunch of files in this project. There are a bunch of files. In fact, inside the there used to be this config folder. Yeah, this is this very large config folder where you can configure a whole bunch of stuff. Let's give the chat more room so that we can see what's going on. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. That's a whole lot of stuff. Okay, is it done? Yeah, I think it's done. So it says I'll analyze this code base to understand what it does. So let me start by examining the main files. So it examines them, and it says based on my analysis of the code base, this is a Vico tag. Yeah, the company is called Vico. So we're actually doing this ride sharing application. We're building this ride sharing application, and there's supposed to be this digital wallet around it. So it said a digital wallet and payment system built with Sales.js. So that's correct, because this API is for digital wallet that is being used within that ride sharing application. So the core purpose, this is a digital wallet API that manages user accounts, wallet balances, and financial transactions for what appears to be a taxi, the transportation service. Cool. Main features, there's a user management section with user registration, authentication, password management, including OTP, user status. Then there's a digital wallet. There's the wallet creation process, balance management, funding, and payment processing. There's also a transaction management system that records all wallet transactions with details like transaction type. So this is awesome. This is what the project is all about. I remember what the project is all about. An overview of what the project is all about. But I am actually really, really impressed with how much it is able to kind of just quickly break down what the entire project is all about, even though this project is 1 billion years old. So just transaction history and the transaction reversal. I remember that was one of the very challenging modules I had to build back then. The fact that you can reverse a failed transaction. So SMS integration also, because we have to be sending notifications for balances when you make a purchase, when you top up your account. Yeah. Even when there's a reversal, we have to update the user with an SMS message in Naira, which is Nigerian currency. Security features, JOT authentication is used, password encryption, API keys, and yeah, the reporting service. Cool. There's a whole reporting service that reports to the application owner and the super admin every single transaction that goes on. So yeah, there's and the technical stack, the framework is Sales.js, the Node.js MVC framework, awesome framework. I loved Sales.js. I've not touched it in a while, but I loved Sales.js. It was well thought out. And I even think right now, its main maintainer is a Nigerian guy. I don't know whether it's main maintainer or is the main advocate, but there's this Nigerian guy that's like the main that is really big on Sales.js right now and even organizes SalesConf. Yeah, SalesConf. They had one, I think late last year. So he got into Sales.js and he just loved everything about it, and he's working with the creators to continue to push the gospel of Sales.js. So API endpoints, there is the user registration, the wallet operations, and the transaction management. So these are the three main stuff that this does: user registration, wallet, and so yeah, this is cool. This project, like I said, for the past 5 years, I haven't even touched it. Let's ask Cursor, how can we get this project to run? Because it's definitely connected to a database and a bunch of services. So how can we get this project to run? Okay, I'll help you to get this project running. Okay. Okay. Approval. Oh yeah, sure. It needs to, okay. The node version needs to be updated. Let's see that. Let's run this too. So I think it's just trying to get information about the Node.js and the npm version. The node modules, yeah, you can check out the node modules. Yeah, we're using MongoDB. Yeah, an amazing DB. I selected it because I was yeah, which might sound like a very bad idea now, but I selected Node.js because it was I selected Mongo as the database because I just loved the old NoSQL document structure. But in retrospect, I got to realize that it is not so. NoSQL is not so perfect for transactions. Or at least that's the general belief that NoSQL is not the best choice for transactions. Yeah, but that was the days of naivety. The days of naivety. Even though databases, I believe databases is just about knowing how to make them work. Some people call it skill issue, but just knowing how to make it work. So I'm not going to totally say that you can never use a NoSQL for a transaction for a transactional system, especially when it has to do with financial transactions. But you would have less edge cases and issues to deal with if you just go with a SQL database. Let's install MongoDB. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. So because we're using MongoDB, it wants to install it locally so that it can then get it running and all that. Brew is going to take that's going to take so long. That's not for this video. So I'm just going to skip. Yeah, skip. So it's telling me, okay, if I want to get it running, I should just do this stuff. Let's see, is it done? How to get the project running. Okay, let me use this. Let's come down here. How to get this project running. So local MongoDB installation. Need to install MongoDB with Brew, which I don't want to do right now because Brew takes forever. Then option 2 is to use a MongoDB Atlas, which was actually what we used in production. We used MongoDB through Atlas. And yeah, you update the connection in config connections. And yeah, we can also use Docker, which is going to make a lot of sense actually, and it's going to be quite lightweight. And Node.js version issue, so the project specifies Node.js 10. Node.js 10, but you have 22.15.1 installed, so you have a few options. You can use NVM, yeah, or try running with the current Node version and all that, or just update. Let's ask it. What if we update sales? What's going to happen? If we update sales.js for this project, can we use our current Node version to run it? Okay. Let's just wait. But yeah, this is quite one of the main advantages I see with AI. Like you can just jump into any code. Like let's imagine that you're new at a particular organization, and they give you this code base. They give you this code base, this crazy code base. Like for example, I was having a meeting yesterday by a friend that called me to help them with a database issue. And when I was on the call, I saw their database, and it had 300 tables. It had 300 tables with 113 relationships. So we had to just use Visual Studio Code database tools to kind of set up a connection with the database and tell it to even make sense of all the data. So it read the table, it understood all the tables, it understood all the columns on the tables, what they're about and everything, and then it understood all the relationships. And we were able to ask it, okay, if we want to delete these records, what is it going to affect? And it tells us, yeah, it's going to affect 3 rows on this table, it's going to affect 10 rows on this table, it's going to affect 13 rows on this table. So that's just one of the big use cases that I see for AI. When you jump into a code base or a system that you don't understand, you can just spin up these tools, and it can start giving you an idea of what the application is all about. So this is still trying to figure stuff out, and it's checking all the files. Yeah, we bcrypt. So sales used to use this machine pack. They had this machine pack system back then, and one of them was machine pack passwords, which we basically use to manage passwords and stuff like that. So I think Cursor is suggesting that we use bcrypt instead. So yeah, I'm not going to even try to make sense of anything that is going on right now, because there is a bunch of code that I've written a long time ago. And for now, let's just stop it from doing this. Yes, that's going to take a while. Cool. What else can we ask it? Let's say, are there any, let's go security. Let's go through the angle of security now. Are there any security vulnerabilities that you can spot in this wallet system? Let's see how porous this code has become, or probably some of the porosity that was already there even while it was created. So yeah, it said yes. Oh, that's bad. I can spot several significant security vulnerabilities in this wallet system. Really? Just 2 seconds, you can spot several. Okay. I'm on the hot seat right now. Okay, so we're just going to wait, and I'm waiting for like the first security vulnerability is going to find out. So, okay, yes, yeah, cool, because I was about to like pause the video and come back. So yeah, a bunch of so much. Oh yeah, we need 12. Oh my, and this is another big advantage. Imagine the owner of this project comes back and like, yeah, let's do that again. And I'm like, oh, we might need to build a lot of things from scratch. Like, no, we already have these systems working. Why don't we just use the previous code base? Just go to the GitHub pages, pull all this code, and let us start to use them. This is a way to find out points on how to convince the client not to go ahead with this code, or how to improve this code. I believe you can still go ahead with this code. Sales.js is still in operation. It's still a very active framework, like I mentioned earlier. It's still a very active framework, so we can propose an upgrade, but this can give us an idea of what we need to upgrade and what has happened between the last time that we worked with this code and now. For example, these vulnerabilities. The client might just say, well, it worked then, let's just use it. Let's just use it as is. It worked back there. But there's a whole lot that this can give us. For example, hard-coded API keys. This is probably because this was the local version of the code. Trust me, I didn't hard-code API keys. I was using an environment variable system and security system that was available on Azure, because we hosted this on Azure. I was using it for this. So yeah, this is not this is just for local test. So it identified that, which is very, very important. Anyone with an access, okay, that's cool. We know that. No authentication on critical endpoints. So there are some endpoints that didn't have authentication. Yeah, get transactions. Yeah, true. I didn't put an authentication middleware there. So yeah, I think I remember that. Just because I just wanted to fetch the data, so I didn't and it was local testing. I didn't want to have to authenticate to fetch data. So anyone can, yeah, sure, we understand, we get that. Authorization bypass, what's that about? Users can specify any user ID in the request body to access other users' wallets. Okay. No input validation. No user IDs, amounts, or transaction types. Yeah, what version of this code? Was this the version that went into production? I don't know. Yeah, no rate limiting. We didn't have rate limiting. Yeah. We didn't have rate limiting. And we used sales ORM. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about here. We use sales.js ORM. So, or I use sales.js ORM. Weak password reset. Why? Passwords are in plain text via SMS. No, they are not. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me see. Your password reset has been successfully reset to. Oh, did I do that? Did I? I'm not going to accept that this was the version that went into production. No, I think this was cut out. Probably was testing something here to just make sure that the new password is actually different. But yeah, I am being called out here by Cursor. So yeah, this has been fun. This has been fun with Cursor. Week Jot. We used Jot. Okay, valid. Jot token is valid for 10 days. It's too long. Okay, yeah, I agree. 10 days might be too long for Jot token. So then I was really struggling to understand what the token refresh stuff was all about. So yeah, we didn't have a token refresh system. By the time I understood how that worked, I think I even got an article for Circle CI explaining how to perform. Was it Circle CI or Zero? Because I was writing for, yeah, I think it was about Zero, because that's the authentication and identity company. So I wrote an article, and I even demoed token refresh then. So I remember back then when I was doing this project, I didn't really have so much of that, and most of the Jot authentication was kind of handled by Sales.js. So they too had a system that was just evolving and all that. So yeah, being called out here, medium vulnerabilities. No HTTPS endpoint is local, so we use HTTPS endpoint in production for sure. Then deprecated dependencies, yeah, we get that. Sales is highly deprecated. So yeah, this is a fun way to quickly get into a project and understand what it's all about. And I think Cursor, even with just being on auto mode and using Cursor out of the box, like I said, I have no Cursor subscription, so yeah, I don't even I'm not even paying for this, and I'm getting so much from it. So this is a very cool way to just jump into a project that you are just getting introduced to by probably the company that you're just joining, or the team that you're just joining, or it might be something that you've not touched in a long while like this. Like I said, 8 years ago, 2017, that's when I wrote this project, and I haven't touched it for 5 years. So now we've looked at this in Cursor. How about Gemini CLI? So we've taken a look at our code in Cursor, and it has been quite impressive. But like I said, the Cursor application I'm using is not subscribed. It's not using any of the fancy models like Claude Sonnet 3.4 or GPT 4.1. Now let us try Gemini code. Let's see what Gemini code can give us. This Gemini code is connected to my account where I have a paid plan on Gemini. So to run Gemini code, we're at the base of the application, we're at the root of the application. So if I say ls, you will see we're definitely at the root of the application. Now let's clear, and I'm going to bring up Gemini code by just saying Gemini. So Gemini CLI, not Gemini code. It's Claude code, Gemini CLI. So let us get our nomenclature right. So we're in Gemini CLI right now, and the first thing we're going to do is the same thing we did with Cursor. We're going to tell it to explain the project. So explain the project. Let's see how well Gemini can understand what this project is all about. So it's deciphering API components, accessing deployment readiness, all those yabba English that we get before it actually tells us what's all about. So I think it has processed some files. Okay, unpacking core features, seeing some results, but okay, yeah, we need to scroll up to get the results. So let us go up. Okay, so this is what read many files will attempt to read, and yeah, I guess that's one of the functions in Gemini CLI. So this is a backend API for a taxi service application named Vico Taxi. It's built with the Sales.js framework for Node.js and uses a MongoDB database. I think it's quite concise about its own explanations. So let's see, the core features include user management, handling user accounts and authentication using Jot, wallet system, managing user funds for rides, transaction handling, processing and recording payments, real-time features, likely for things like live. There was this reporting service that, so I created a dashboard on the reporting service, or rather on the front end. I created a dashboard. So there's this reporting service that uses WebSockets to kind of send real-time updates to the reporting service on the front end for transactions and stuff. So the user doesn't need to refresh the dashboard to see all the amount of the total transactions, the total money that has been transferred back and forth, total expenditure, total money coming in, and all this kind of transactional stuff. So yeah, we had that too. Did Cursor mention that? Can't remember. So an SMS notification, so you got that right. It also includes a basic server rendered front end using EJS template. Yeah, I didn't really use that. I think it was just picking that from the scaffolding of Sales.js. So let's also ask it, can we ask it again? Let me see, any vulnerabilities? So, okay, let's tell it to suggest improvements. Can you suggest, oh wait, are we comparing Cursor to Gemini CLI here? Is that what we're doing? No, let's just tell it to suggest improvement. Can you suggest improvements? We're not comparing Cursor to Gemini CLI, so no need to ask it the exact same questions. Let's just see what it can do. So can you suggest improvements to this project? Especially, no, let's not tell it it's an old project. Let's just say, can you suggest improvements to this project? So compiling key observations, accessing project improvements, interesting. Analyzing code base structure, proposing architectural enhancements. Yeah, that's just nice. Okay, this might take a while, so might just cut the video and come back when this is done. So we are back. It's done suggesting its improvements, and it says implementing these suggestions will result in a more secure, robust, and modern applications. Thank you. Let us scroll up to see what it suggested. So there are four sections, I think. Yeah, 4 sections that I did. Let's see the first one. So code modernization and architecture. So it's telling us to refactor to async await. The controllers are written using nested callbacks, which was very, very huge back then. But promises were beginning to come up. But now it's telling us just use promises, use async await. It makes it says callbacks makes the code hard to maintain and read. So we should refactor it to async await, and it even suggested some of the places where we can do that with before and after suggestions. So use services for business logic, move the core logic out of the controllers into API services. Actually just followed Sales.js structure, so some of this is not entirely my fault. Then it says use custom responses. This project already has custom responses in API responses, like bad request not found. Use them consistently instead of manually sending responses. Like now, this was intentional because I need to send messages that relate to what the user was experiencing, not just bad request not found and all those kind of stuff to standard HTTP messages. We're going to send standard HTTP messages when to a user that has no idea what programming is all about. You have to send a message that the user can understand based on what they're currently experiencing and what they're trying to do. So dependency and build process, all the dependencies, because things like sales grunt who uses grunt anymore? So sales is definitely outdated. The request library is deprecated and should be replaced with a modern alternative like Axios. I totally agree. I love Axios. Modernize the access pipeline. That's grunt is largely considered a legacy tool. Yeah, sure. Security also, input validation. It keeps coming back to that. Use security middleware like Helmet. I've not heard of Helmet before. Probably because I've not written Node.js in like a year or so. Centralized configuration and hard-coded testing. Introduce automated testing. This project lacks a test directory, which is a critical omission. So yeah, that is cool. What else can we ask it before we wrap things up here? Let's see if we can get it to run. Like, how can you get this project to run. How can you get this project to run? Let's see what Gemini CLI is going to suggest. And I kind of noticed, I don't know, maybe because of the old CLI interface, then the responses are more brief than what we had in Cursor. Cursor was more elaborate about its responses, but Gemini CLI is just keeping it concise. So it's asking us, yeah, we should install project dependencies. I'm not going to do that in this video, because in this video we're just trying to look at how these tools can help us with legacy code. Maybe I should do a different video on getting this project to run. Yeah, I think we should do that. I'll try and make that video where I'm actually getting this project to run using the CLI tool. But for now, let's just say no. Let it continue. Is it going to continue? Just let me say continue, because I expect it to just continue telling me how it's going to get it to run. I don't want to run anything. Okay. Allow only once. Oh no, let's exit out of that. That should be in the video where we're trying to get this project to run. Because one thing I'm trying to do is to not change a single file in this project, so we're not going to do that. So we're not installing anything. Let's just exit out of this. How do we go back to? Okay, yeah, escape takes us back to the prompt, and let's say briefly. So we've talked about suggested improvements. We've talked about vulnerabilities. I think it also includes vulnerabilities. Let's just wrap things up by briefly explaining the architecture of this project. Oh, I said briefly explaining instead of briefly explain. Yeah. The model should figure that out. Okay, so yeah. Let's wait for it to be done. Okay, yeah, it's done. So for the architecture, it tells us here's a quick breakdown. There's the API folder, which contains the main logic. It contains the models and the services and the policies and also the controllers. So also explain what it does. The models define the schema, the controllers handle the incoming requests, services contain reusable business logic, and views are the presentation, or rather policies handle security and authentication. Then we have the views folder, which is the presentation layer. We have the config directory where all the configuration is done, every single configuration is done. And we have the assets, if you're still trying to run this as a full web application that has a front end and the back end. Yeah, there are assets for JavaScript images and stuff like that in the assets folder. So yeah, I hope you've been able to get the whole idea of what we're trying to do in this video, and I think these AI tools have performed excellently in helping us understand what this project is all about. But like I will still always say with all these tools, verify, because these tools can hallucinate a lot. They can hallucinate a whole lot. So in some critical points, you want to check the code itself to see what's actually saying, or ask it to display the code and tell you why it is making a particular suggestion, and know whether you actually want to keep a particular feature as is or accept its suggestion, because sometimes you might just try to suggest stuff based on common practices, but you might have some trade-offs that you have made, or some reasons based on your business logic, or based on the history of the project, or whatever it is that you had to make some certain decisions, so you just don't want to override them with what the AI is suggesting. And you also want to be very, very careful where the AI is going to actually make a change, so that you can make sure that for example, try working off a different branch from the initial version of the application, so that you can always roll back when the AI goes crazy. So those are one of the things you want to do with these tools. These agentic tools, giving them full access can sometimes be detrimental. So you want to always make sure that you know what you're doing. But this has been fun. And like I said in another video, we will be trying to get this project, this 8-year-old project, and project that has been taught in 5 years. We're going to be trying to get it to work, and I think that should be fun also.